Alright, I am back for the finale of a saga I have been covering for quite literally 6 months now, which is the removal of Cyberpunk 2077 from the PlayStation Store. As of this morning, it is back online. You're able to purchase Cyberpunk from the PlayStation Store for $50, not $60. I assume that's kind of a natural price drop because it's been 6 months and not necessarily anything that has to do with, oh, it's bad, so we're going to discount it a little bit. I think it's just old enough where they're going to do that now. It has been interesting to see how this is rolled out, both on CDPR's side and Sony's side. I kind of wanted to run down the different ways this is being presented. So here's CDPR announcing the game is back on the store from a tweet this morning. Cyberpunk 2077 is now back on the PlayStation Store. You can play the game on PlayStation 4 Pro and PlayStation 5. Additionally, a free next-gen update or upgrade will be available for all owners of the PS4 version of Cyberpunk 2077 in the second half of 2021. Then in a follow-up tweet, they say, users may continue to experience some performance issues with the PS4 edition while we continue to improve stability across all platforms. The PS4 Pro and PS5 versions of the game will provide the best experience on PlayStation. On PlayStation, not overall. So that's CDPR. Sony was a little less generous, I'd say, with their warnings here. So the first time I heard about this was a tweet from PlayStation itself. It said, Cyberpunk 2077 is now available at the PlayStation Store. Work on the PS4 version continues with fixes and updates to be released throughout the year. For the best experience on PlayStation, playing on PS4 Pro or PS5 consoles is recommended. But if you click on the link there, this goes into the actual store page, and the description on the actual store page is very severe and kind of hilarious. It says, important notice, users continue to experience performance issues with this game. Purchase for use on PS4 systems is not recommended. For the best Cyberpunk experience on PlayStation, play on PS4 Pro and PS5 systems. So this has created a kind of weird situation where Sony has both put a game back online and then said outright that they cannot recommend playing it on PS4. So the problem here is that you can't really separate all these things out because there are not two versions of the same game. This has always kind of been a problem because, the PS4 Pro version, which also runs on PS5, was actually somewhat okay. There was no split between a PS4 base version and a PS4 Pro version on the store. Those were one copy for PS4 generally. So that's why when it was borderline unplayable, if not fully unplayable on PS4, all the versions got taken down. And so even though it ran pretty okay, I mean, relatively speaking, on PS5, running the PS4 Pro version, it had to be taken down anyway. And then the same thing was happening over at Xbox, but they had this kind of warning up the whole time, and they never actually took it down off the store. So this also kind of flies in the face of Sony saying their original reason for taking this down was to protect PlayStation consumers from a not working copy of the game, and yet they are still just listing it with a warning that says don't play this game on PS4, which is the most problematic, controversial version of it. This kind of ties into the theory that the main reason this all went down was because Sony was upset about CDPR directing people to ask for digital refunds for the digital version of the game when they did not have a digital refund policy. They have never said that outright. They have only blamed the quality of the game, and yet they are bringing the game back at the 6-month mark, just kind of arbitrarily. There has been nothing recently that has dramatically improved the PS4 version. There was a patch this past week, but that did not really change anything that I saw about the PS4 version. There were larger patches previously where at the very least now, the game can kind of run consistently at 30 FPS in most circumstances. If you're driving, it might dip down to 25. One of the ways they pulled this off is they removed a ton of traffic and pedestrians, especially from the world. So it's kind of dead, but it runs more smoothly now. And it is passable on PS4 now, where it was totally broken and just kind of total garbage right at launch. But those patches went out kind of weeks or months ago, and Sony's just been kind of sitting on this indefinitely. But we are pretty much almost at the exact 6-month mark. So I don't know if that was the jail time they decided that this deserved to have. but now we can kind of move on to future phases of Cyberpunk, knowing that it is not really fully fixed yet. And I think the best solution, like if you are not planning on getting a PS5 anytime soon and you really want to play Cyberpunk, like go for it on whatever system you have access to. Hopefully it's PS4 Pro, because the PS4 base version, well, like you can play through it at this point, is not going to be ideal. But we're now existing in a time where in the second half of this year, they are going to be bringing out a next-gen version of Cyberpunk for both PS5 and Xbox Series X. We don't know exactly how that's going to go, and if the past 6 months of any indication, it might not be super smooth. I would assume that the new versions will have all of the benefits of the patches and upgrades from the past few months of hotfixes and patches, and it will benefit from being more similar to the PC version, which is obviously the ideal place to run it. I doubt that it is going to be outperforming ultra high-end PC builds, like people running it on psycho settings with full ray tracing and all that stuff. But it should be significantly better than what we've seen on current consoles, which is an upconverted version of PS4 Pro and Xbox One X versions of it. And that's not great. Like, I played it on Xbox Series X running the One X version, and like it was fine. Like, I didn't, it wasn't like a total disaster like some people's initial playthroughs were. It never looked great. It still doesn't look like amazing. And then compared to PC, where like I don't even have that good of a PC, but it is wildly better on PC, just even with a normal PC. So hopefully we can channel some of that. And I'm guessing that CDPR is going to try and have some sort of grand relaunch philosophy between that and what should be some amount of free DLC coming out by then. They've said the original roadmap said the free DLC was coming in the first half of the year. At least that's what it indicated. We are about 10 days away from the first half of the year ending. That is not happening. Their new roadmap is just sort of this nebulous blob of crap that's like sometime this year before 2021 ends, they will have both free DLC and the next gen version. Maybe it'll all launch together. I don't know. I expect that to be a number of kind of shorter quests and then some quality of life features and things like new cosmetics or new cars or new weapons, things like that. Nothing super major, but they are allegedly still planning kind of Witcher 3 style, like mega DLC, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, things like that. We are way behind the Witcher 3 schedule. Like at this point, Hearts of Stone is already out. The free DLC came out legions ago for Witcher 3 on the same schedule, but obviously Cyberpunk had a lot more to fix. The Witcher 3 was pretty rough at launch, but not compared to what's been going on with Cyberpunk. But we have at least finished the kind of, at least I hope we finished, the Sony saga of this, where they wouldn't list it on the store forever. And I'm assuming that this is not going to get delisted somehow. I mean, I don't know if there's maybe another influx of refunds because people think the game is fixed and it is not fully fixed. That could trigger something again, but I would assume at this point they are not going to outright remove it from the store. And thus concludes one of the strangest sagas I have experienced in gaming ever. I've never seen a game this high profile get this publicly and severely punished by a company like Sony from delisting it. And as a result, I mean, sales have just plummeted for Cyberpunk. And I mean, part of that is people like spreading the word that like, hey, this game sucked at launch, like avoid it. But it's also, it was physically unavailable for 115 million PS4 players, and however many PS4s or PS5s they've sold, 10 million, 15 million, I have no idea. But it, like, you literally could not buy it unless it was a physical copy. So that just flat restricted how much it could sell. I don't know if there's like a comeback for this in the cards. Like what they're doing does not seem to be like some sort of massive transformation of the game like No Man's Sky style or Final Fantasy XIV. I think the only thing that could really take it into this realm is some sort of huge meaty DLC that is awesome, that everybody loves and everybody wants to go back to the game for. But we wouldn't be seeing that until 2022, so we really have no idea. This year is kind of probably a wash. I don't expect, the game being relisted on the Sony store to drive some sort of huge sales spike, nor do I expect the next gen launch of it to, like, that should help a little bit, I guess, but considering the scarcity of next gen consoles, I'm not sure how impactful that will be. Also, if you already own the game, a last gen version of it, it's a free upgrade to the new version of it. So like they're doing Xbox Smart Delivery, and then they're doing whatever convoluted PS4 process there will be to transfer your data from PS4 to PS5. I'm assuming, but it's so you're not buying a new copy of it. Not that many people would spend $60 on Cyberpunk the past 6 months and then be running out to spend $60 or $70 on another version of it. But this isn't like somebody did in response to this. This was always the plan, was to have a free upgrade for it, which is good, and it seemed good at the time. But obviously, the situation has unfolded a little differently than was foreseen. But the Sony saga appears to be over, and the next time I'll be covering this is hopefully them announcing what free DLC is and when that is coming, or some sort of huge major patch that does something else significant in the game, bunch of quality of life features, who knows. But there's only so much you can talk about with these patches and hotfixes that are almost nothing but just here's a dozen to 500 bug fixes for individual quests, which is all that has kind of happened the past 6 months. So there we are. This part of the saga has concluded, and we will see where things go in the future here. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.